yesterday featured the testimony of a defendant in a double murder trial. His name is Alex-Murdaugh. If you haven't been actually following this story, it is one of the craziest stories ever. It's just an insane crime story. It's been featured. There's like a documentary on Netflix about it, and there was a podcast series about it. So let's start with the basics if you haven't been following this case. So actually, Vox did a good rundown on this. So the Murdochs have wielded power over South Carolina's Low Country, the wedge at the bottom of the state, for over 100 years, ever since Randolph Murdoch Sr. founded his law office in Hampton County in 1910. The firm eventually grew into a large, powerful practice, continued by his son, Randolph Jr., and his grandson, Randolph III. From 1920 to 2006, all three men successfully held the post of solicitor, that's prosecutor, for South Carolina's 14th Circuit Court. So this is a big legal family over in South Carolina. The 86-year stretch serving as circuit solicitors is the longest such family legacy in American history. Well, Randolph IV and Alex, two of Randolph III's sons, followed in their father's footsteps and became lawyers. Because South Carolina eventually prohibited lawyers from serving in those conflicting roles as like a public prosecutor and a private attorney, eventually they just started a law firm. Alex, it's pronounced Alec, I guess, was a golden child who sired golden children, born in 1967. He followed in the family footsteps. He studied law at University of South Carolina, and then he got married, and then he had a couple of sons, Buster, born in 1996, and Paul, born in 1999. And they lived in opulence. They had a beach house, a couple of private islands, a 1,772-acre estate known as Mazel. But apparently, everything was wild, up to and including Alec embezzling a crap load of money from his business partners, from his clients as well. And a weird amount of death seemed to follow around Alec Murdaugh, like a weird amount of death. So in 2015, there was a 19-year-old Hampton student named Stephen Smith. He phoned his mom to tell her he'd run out of gas. Later that night, he was found lying in the middle of the road miles away from his truck. He'd apparently died of blunt force trauma. His body had been laid out in the middle of the road. Initially, the South Carolina Highway Patrol assumed that Stephen was the victim of a hit and run, and they closed the case. But police noted that the scene looked staged. Town gossip began to swirl that Smith was actually dating Buster Murdoch and that the Murdoch brothers had done something about all this. That was all that was all rumor stuff. Then in 2018, there's another death. Gloria Satterfield. Gloria Satterfield was Murdoch's longtime housekeeper. And apparently she had a severe head injury February 2nd, 2018, and then died on February 26th of complications, including a stroke. It's not clear exactly what caused her death. The coroner was never notified. Satterfield's body was never autopsied. So it wouldn't have been suspicious, except for the fact that apparently Alec Murdaugh and two other men, a banker and a fellow attorney, conspired to steal Satterfield's $4.3 million insurance policy by misleading Satterfield's sons and diverting all the funds to Alec himself through a phony business that Alec created. Which, I mean, talk about audacious. So the maid dies and your first move is to steal the life insurance money? That is a wild scheme. Okay, then 2019, another death. On February 24th, 2019, 19-year-old Paul, right, the other son, and a group of his friends were returning to the Murdoch estate by boat. Apparently, Paul was really, really drunk, maybe high, and he was navigating the twisting waterways. And apparently, he crashed the boat into a bridge, and a bunch of passengers fell from the boat, including Mallory Beach, and she died. The authorities didn't record his intoxication levels at the scene, but everybody confirmed that the guy was drunk off his ass. This apparently led to a flurry of lawsuits and a criminal investigation focused on Paul Murdoch. And this opened a lot of boxes for Alec because there's a lot of wondering about his fraudulent activities and his finances. Well, folks, got to tell you, I don't think I trust Alec Murdaugh. You know who else I don't trust? Big tech. Because big tech would love your data. They would love to use your data to make money off of you. Also, hackers, they would love your data to make money off of you. The government would love your data just to keep track of you. Why not protect your data the same way that I do by using ExpressVPN? Have you noticed big tech companies masquerading as privacy companies? So now they have security features where they tell you, don't worry, your data is safe with us. Not true. Free big tech platforms make their money by selling your info to advertisers. They know when you're online, what kind of content you're engaging with, even the transactions you're making. I don't like giving them my data, which is why I use ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN hides and encrypts 100% of your online activity so big tech cannot track you. I use ExpressVPN on all my devices. You just fire up the app, tap one button, and now I'm protected. One ExpressVPN subscription covers up to 5 devices at the same time, so you can protect your entire family as well. ExpressVPN is the world's #1 rated VPN by CNET, Wired, TechRadar, countless others. Get the VPN I trust to protect my online privacy. When big bad tech is at the door, visit expressvpn.com/Ben. Get an extra 3 months free on a 1-year package. That's expressvpn.com/Ben, expressvpn.com/Ben. Well, if murder trials put you in mind of the fact that we all die, I mean, because why wouldn't it? You need life insurance. don't sign it over to Alec Murdaugh, but you definitely need life insurance. And this is why you should go check out Policy Genius today. Policy Genius makes it easy to compare life insurance quotes from top companies and find your lowest price. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $39 per month for $2 million in coverage. Some options offer coverage in as little as a week and avoid those unnecessary medical exams. Policy Genius's licensed agents can help you find coverage options in as little as a week. They work for you, not the insurance companies, which means they don't have an incentive to recommend one insurer over another, so you can actually trust their guidance. There are no added fees. Your personal information remains private. Your loved ones deserve a financial safety net. You deserve a smarter way to find and buy it. Head on over to policygenius.com/Shapiro or click the link in the description. Get your free life insurance quotes. See how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/Shapiro. Remember, you do need a life insurance if you're a responsible human being. You probably have dependents. That means they need to be taken care of in case, God forbid, something happens to you. Go check out policygenius.com/Shapiro right now. That's policygenius.com/Shapiro. And then, in 2021, there was more public interest that was going around Paul Murdoch's trial. They decided to put him on trial. Meanwhile, Alec, his wife, was estranged from him and apparently was living at the beach house and looking into divorce. And Alec was neck deep in these fraud schemes. He apparently said that he was having a 20-year opioid addiction. Okay, well, on June 7th, 2021, Alec allegedly lured Maggie to Mizell, right? That's the 772-acre estate, and prompted her to text a friend that Alec was acting fishy. She wrote to her friend, "He's up to something." Upon arriving at the estate, Maggie met her son Paul at the family's dog kennels. While they were there, both the mom and the son were murdered with two different weapons. Maggie was shot with an assault, what they call an assault rifle, a rifle. Paul was shot with a shotgun. Alec appeared on the scene shortly afterward and then called 911 to report the deaths. The double homicide caused the whole thing to collapse. So he immediately fell under suspicion of murder because that's really, really, really suspicious. People getting killed on your property who are your family members, very often the first suspect is the family member. And in this particular case where Alec is a disaster area with apparently a trail of death behind the family, it seems pretty obvious what the police were doing. And this was made worse because on September 3rd, 2021, Murdoch resigned from the family's law firm over embezzlement. The firm later sued him. The very next day, Alec called 911 to report a strange roadside incident in which he claimed to have blown a tire. When a stranger stopped to help him, Alex reported, they shot him in the head instead. The shot grazed him, but it turned out that he later admitted that he had intended to have a friend shoot and kill him so that Buster could receive Alec's $10 million life insurance payout. So he was arrested for that. He posted bond, he checked himself into drug rehab, and then he was arrested for felony fraud charges in the Satterfield case. Then his bail was denied, his assets were frozen. And finally, he's now been put on trial for the double homicide of his wife and son. And it's fairly obvious that he killed his wife and son. I mean, like, all the evidence stacks up in favor of him having killed his wife and son. His testimony yesterday was kind of a shocker because the first rule of lawyering is never put the defendant on the stand. And putting the defendant on the stand is a super risky move. Because again, the burden of proof is on the prosecution. All you have to do is establish some level of reasonable doubt in order to get your client off. Now, there are only two reasons to put your client on the stand. One, the person's actually like dead innocent. The person didn't do anything. The person is going to be a good witness. Two, you have no other choice. In this particular case, it appeared that the jaws of justice were closing in on Alec Murdaugh. And so they put him on the stand. And so here he was yesterday saying he did not kill his wife and son.
On June 7th, 2021, did you take this gun or any gun like it and shoot your son Paul in the chest in the feed room at your property off Moselle Road?
No, I did not.
Mr. Murdoch, did you take this gun or any gun like it and blow your son's brains out on June 7th or any day or any time?
No, I did not.
Mr. Murdoch, if you take a .300 blackout, such as this, and fire it into your wife Maggie's leg, torso, or any part of her body?
No, I did not.
Did you shoot a .300 blackout into her head, causing her death?
Mr. Griffin, I didn't shoot my wife or my son anytime. Ever.
Well, there are a few problems for him. One is that he claimed that he was not anywhere near the scene of the crime. And it turns out he was totally lying because his son was taking a Snapchat. And in the background of the Snapchat, minutes before the murder, his dad's voice can be heard. And so that forced Murdoch to admit that he had lied to the cops and then continued to lie about the cops about his whereabouts the night of the murder. He blamed that on his opioid addiction, which does not explain why you're lying to the cops about you being like right there when somebody gets killed.
And in the interview of August 11th, Did you tell Agent Owen and Agent Croft, did you lie to them by telling them that you were not down at the kennels on that night?
Yes.
Alec, why did you lie to Agent Owen, Agent Croft, and Deputy Rutland about the last time you saw Maggie and Paul?
As my addiction evolved over time, I would get in these situations or circumstances where I would get paranoid thinking. It could be anything that triggered it. It might be a look somebody gave me. It might be a reaction somebody had to something I did. It might be a policeman following me in a car.
Oh, so it's because he was paranoid, was it? Maybe it's because he was guilty. And then, of course, there was the moment that he was really looking for. The moment that he was looking for is where he was going to break down on the stand. Right? You see this a lot in the courtroom, unfortunately. This seems like dramatics, obviously.
Did you see them on the ground when you're pulling up in your Suburban?
I did.
And what'd you do when you came to a stop, Alec?
I think I jumped out of my car. I'm not exactly sure what I did, but no, I got out of my car. I know I ran back to my car, called 911. I don't know. I don't know why I tried to turn him over. Me and my boys laying face down. And he's done the way he's done. His head was the way his head was. I could see his brain laying on the sidewalk. I didn't know what to do. I mean, I tried to turn him over. Tried to grab him by the belt loop and try to turn him over.
Well, listen, there's no other suspect in this case, as far as I'm aware. And I will say this guy's been in the courtroom a long time, so that appears to be fairly good acting. That is my belief about the situation. We'll keep an eye on that case because obviously it's making national headlines. Alrighty, guys, the rest of the show is continuing right now. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll be getting into the mailbag as per our usual arrangement. But remember, in order for you to have your question answered, you actually have to be a member. Become a member. Use code Shapiro at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans. Click the link in the description and join us.